The Hope Blooms community garden was a tangle of neglect, a stark reflection of Lena Mae Jackson's heart. David had loved this place, but now wilting plants mirrored her own fading hope. Her teenage son, Jamal, kicked at a stubborn weed, the quiet frustration in his gesture echoing her unspoken despair. Later that evening, in the quiet solitude of her kitchen, Lena Mae sifted through David's old gardening supplies. Each neatly labeled packet, each worn tool, was an echo of his methodical nature, his passion. He had poured his soul into the Hope Blooms garden, a testament to resilience in their inner-city neighborhood. She picked up a weathered seed packet, Defender's Delight, heirloom tomatoes, David's favorite. His familiar, careful handwriting listed the planting instructions, and for a moment, the ache of his absence felt less sharp, replaced by a tender nostalgia. Lena Mae traced the faded letters, a quiet sorrow settling over her. Under the soft glow of her kitchen lamp, Lena Mae turned the Defender's Delight packet over in her tired hands. It was old, well-loved, but something felt off. Her thumb brushed against a tiny, almost invisible tear in the seam at the bottom. David was meticulous. Such a flaw was uncharacteristic. A flicker of unease, then curiosity spurred her. Carefully, she pried the seam open with her fingernail. Taped securely inside, hidden from plain sight, was a minuscule micro SD card. Why would David hide this? Her pulse quickened. The card, no bigger than her thumbnail, felt heavier, more significant than its size suggested. A silent question waiting to be answered. Lena Mae found Jamal engrossed in his laptop, lines of code scrolling across the screen. "Jamal," she began, holding out the tiny card, her voice a hesitant whisper. "I found this in one of your dad's old seed packets." He looked up, his brow furrowed, then took the card. His teenage curiosity piqued. Micro SD. What's on it? He inserted it into a slot on his laptop. A moment later, a folder appeared, labeled in a stark, digital font. Hope.01. It was password protected. Lena Mae leaned over his shoulder, a knot tightening in her stomach. "Can you open it?" Jamal's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Dad was good, but I'm better." He smirked. Then a subtle click echoed from the speakers. The folder opened. The Hope.01 folder revealed a trove of encrypted documents and audio files. Jamal clicked on the first one, a file titled Project Nightingale Overview. Lena Mae held her breath. The screen filled with corporate jargon, cold and clinical. Project Nightingale, Jamal read aloud, Strategic Revitalization of the Inner City District. Lena Mae's eyes scanned the document, her heart sinking with each ominous phrase. Eminent domain acquisition, relocation of problematic residents, community garden designated for commercial development. Disbelief warred with a growing alarm. "Problematic residents?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "That's us, Jamal. This is about taking our homes, our garden." A shared sense of foreboding settled between them, heavy and undeniable. The soft glow of Jamal's laptop screen painted Lena Mae's face in stark relief, reflecting the grim images on David's photo. Late into the night, the small apartment was silent, save for the faint hum of the computer and the strained voice echoing from the speakers. It was David's voice, a little hoarse, but unmistakably his. "If you're hearing this, Lena Mae, something's gone wrong. The Blackwood Group. They're not just building, they're taking. Our neighborhood, our garden, it's all part of their Project Nightingale. A fancy name for gentrification pushing us out." Lena Mae felt a cold dread settle in her stomach, mingling with the familiar ache of grief. David had known. He had been fighting, even then. His voice grew firmer, more urgent. "Trust no one, Lena Mae. Not the smooth talkers, not the city council. Especially not Victor Blackwood and his viper, Evelyn Thorne. They'll smile while they take everything." Lena Mae's hands clenched into tight fists. A wave of sorrow, quickly followed by a searing anger, washed over her. David hadn't just died. He'd been silenced. The sterile quiet of her classroom felt alien the next morning. Lena Mae sat at her desk, the laptop open, a dozen browser tabs displaying dead ends. Blackwood Group. Project Nightingale. Nothing substantial, just corporate fluff and vague press releases. It was like trying to catch smoke, The sheer scale of what David had hinted at, the vast, shadowy network of power and secrecy, pressed down on her. She was just a teacher, a widow struggling to make rent. What could she possibly do against such a formidable, invisible enemy? A wave of despair threatened to overwhelm her. The school bell, shrill and sudden, cut through her thoughts, a jarring reminder of her ordinary life, the one she felt utterly unprepared to defend. The Hope Blooms community garden, even with its recent neglect, still held a quiet magic. Mama Rose, her hands gnarled but steady, hummed a gospel tune as she tended a patch of collard greens. Lena Mae watched her, seeking not answers, but simply grounding. "This garden," Mama Rose said without looking up, "it's seen a lot. Good times, hard times, but it always blooms again. Because we keep tending to it." She looked at Lena Mae, her eyes deep and knowing. "Some folks think they can just come in, dig up what's old, plant something new, but the roots go deep, child, deeper than they know." Lena Mae listened, a small spark igniting within her. Mama Rose didn't know about the SD card, about David's warnings, but her words were a balm, a silent affirmation of what was worth fighting for. The garden wasn't just soil and plants, it was the heart of their community, and its roots, like their history, ran deep. The Community Legal Aid Office was a whirlwind of activity, a symphony of ringing phones and hushed conversations. Aisha Khan, sharp and efficient, looked up from a stack of files as Lena Mae entered. "Ms. Jackson? You said you had something urgent?" Lena Mae's hands trembled slightly as she placed the micro SD card and David's meticulous notes on Aisha's cluttered desk. "My husband, he left this. He thought our neighborhood, our garden, was being targeted by the Blackwood Group." Aisha picked up the tiny card, a skeptical eyebrow raised. "Encrypted files, audio recordings. This is certainly unorthodox." She scanned David's handwritten notes, her expression shifting from doubt to intrigue. "Project Nightingale, eminent domain, problematic residents." "These aren't just ramblings, Ms. Jackson. If this is real, you've got the makings of a major case." A glimmer of hope, fragile but real, flickered in Lena Mae's chest. She wasn't alone. High above the city, in an office that felt more like a glass-encased ivory tower, Victor Blackwood swirled amber liquid in a crystal tumbler. "Project Nightingale is proceeding as planned, Evelyn?" His voice was smooth, dripping with self-satisfaction. Evelyn Thorne, sleek and precise in her tailored suit, nodded. "Ahead of schedule, Victor. The acquisition phase is almost complete. Just a few lingering properties. And that, community garden." She said the words with a dismissive curl of her lip, as if referring to a pest infestation. "A minor inconvenience. We'll address it quickly. Perhaps a generous non-negotiable offer for the land, or a few carefully placed code violations." Blackwood chuckled, a low, guttural sound. "Excellent. No loose ends, Evelyn. We can't have anything derail our vision for this city." His eyes, cold and calculating, swept across the panoramic view of the neighborhood below, a predatory gleam hinting at the ruthless power Lena Mae was truly up against. A week later, Lena Mae sat in Aisha's bustling downtown office, a knot of anticipation tightening in her stomach. Jamal, ever the quiet genius, had his laptop open, the screen displaying a new, intricate digital map of their neighborhood. "This," he announced, his voice low with a mix of awe and dread, "was buried under several layers of encryption. Daddy really didn't want this found easily." Red markers pulsed on the map, highlighting specific properties, including the Hope Blooms community garden. Aisha leaned closer, her eyes scanning the patterns. "This isn't random. These are classic corporate land grab tactics. They target key parcels, then choke out the rest. The scale of this, it's bigger than we thought." Lena Mae felt a cold dread, but also a surge of determination. David had foreseen this. He'd given them a weapon. The fluorescent hum of the local community grocery store felt strangely dissonant against the weight of the digital map in Lena Mae's mind. Pushing her cart, she moved through the aisles, subtly seeking out Mama Rose, who was inspecting a display of collard greens. "Mama Rose," Lena Mae began, her voice carefully casual, "have folks been talking about selling their places?" Heard some strange whispers. Mama Rose straightened, her gaze meeting Lena Mae's, a knowing glint in her eyes. "Oh, honey, the wolves been circling for a while now. Folks getting calls, offers that sound too good to be true. Some feelin' the squeeze." Lena Mae nodded, the casual chats confirming David's dire warnings. The threat wasn't abstract anymore. It was real, pressing down on the very people she cherished. This community, so vulnerable, needed a voice. The Public Records Office was a tomb of forgotten histories, dust motes dancing in the afternoon light. Aisha, a whirlwind of focused energy, pulled ancient ledgers and oversized maps from shelves, Lena Mae quickly learning to navigate the labyrinthine system. "Look here," Aisha exclaimed, her finger tracing a series of rapid rezonings from 2 years prior. "Industrial to mixed use, all along the proposed new transit line. And who bought up these parcels right before the rezoning? Shell companies linked to Blackwood Group." Lena Mae jotted notes, a grim satisfaction building. Each dusty document, each suspicious inconsistency, painted a clearer picture of the Blackwood Group's insidious plan. It was slow, meticulous work, but the paper trail was undeniable, leading straight to Victor Blackwood's polished boardroom. In his sleek, minimalist office, Victor Blackwood swirled amber liquid in a crystal tumbler, gazing at the city below like a king surveying his domain. Evelyn Thorne stood opposite him, her posture impeccable, a tablet clutched in her manicured hands. "Unusual inquiries have been made, Mr. Blackwood," Thorne reported, her voice as crisp as fresh linen. Tracing back to a community legal aid lawyer, Aisha Khan, fringe activist. "She's been asking about our holdings, specifically Project Nightingale." Blackwood scoffed. "A pro bono lawyer? Dismissible. A fly buzzing around a banquet." He took a slow sip, his eyes narrowing. "However, flies can be annoying. Handle it, Evelyn. Discreetly. Ensure they understand the futility of their efforts." Thorne offered a faint predatory smile. "Consider it handled." The subtle threat in Blackwood's eyes was chilling. Lena Mae and Aisha were now squarely in their sights. Lena Mae arrived home late, the fatigue heavy in her bones. As she reached her apartment door, a faint chill prickled her skin. It was slightly ajar. No sign of forced entry, no shattered lock, just open. Her heart hammered. She pushed it open slowly, scanning the familiar space. Nothing seemed amiss until her gaze fell on the kitchen table. There, laid out with deliberate, chilling precision, was a single, wilted, Defender's Delight tomato plant. The symbol of David, of hope, now a dying accusation. Jamal rushed in moments later, his face pale. "Mom, what happened? Are you okay?" He saw the plant, his eyes widening with fear. "This is a warning. You have to stop, Mom. It's too dangerous." Lena Mae's hands trembled, but a cold, hard resolve set in. They had breached her sanctuary. The fight wasn't just for the garden anymore, it was for her family. The community center's main hall buzzed with nervous energy, packed shoulder to shoulder. Lena Mae stood at the podium, her heart hammering against her ribs, a mix of apprehension and fierce determination warring within her. Aisha stood confidently beside her, a stack of meticulously organized folders in her hand. Behind them, Mama Rose sat, her presence a silent testament to the garden's soul. Jamal, ever the quiet strategist, had his laptop connected to a projector, ready. Lena Mae took a deep breath, meeting the skeptical, fearful eyes of her neighbors. "My husband, David, he loved this community," she began, her voice trembling slightly, then gaining strength. "He saw what was coming, and he left us the tools to fight back." Jamal clicked, and David's meticulous notes, along with the damning public records Aisha had unearthed, flashed across the screen. The room, initially filled with murmurs of doubt, slowly shifted. Skepticism gave way to outrage. Whispers turned to gasps as the full scope of Project Nightingale and the Blackwood Group's land grab became undeniably clear. "They want to take our homes!" a woman cried out. "They want to erase us!" A unified roar of defiance erupted, a powerful wave of collective anger washing over Lena Mae, solidifying her resolve. This wasn't just her fight anymore. Miles away, in his opulent office, Victor Blackwood hurled his phone across the room, the crystal-clear report of the town hall meeting still echoing in his ears. A teacher? A asterisk gardener? How dare she? His face, usually a mask of suave indifference, was contorted with fury. Evelyn Thorne, ever composed, watched him with icy calm. The fringe activist has managed to mobilize them, Mr. Blackwood. Her husband, apparently, was more thorough than we anticipated. Thorne picked up a stylus, tapping a map of the neighborhood on her sleek, transparent desk. We accelerate. Aggressive legal intimidation. Eviction notices for residents whose properties we've already secured. Targeted harassment campaigns for the more vocal ones. And as for Ms. Jackson, a chilling smile touched Thorne's lips. We make her regret ever finding that little SD card. Blackwood's rage slowly settled, replaced by a cold, predatory glint in his eyes. Do it. Remind them who they're dealing with. Make an example of her, discreetly, of course. The gloves were off. The next day, the Hope Blooms community garden buzzed with a different kind of energy. Not the melancholy hum of neglect, but the vibrant symphony of shared purpose. Neighbors, once paralyzed by fear, now moved with renewed vigor, shovels digging into the rich earth, rakes clearing weeds. Children, including Jamal, helped carry fresh seedlings, their laughter mingling with the sounds of hard work. Lena Mae, no longer just observing, moved among them, a natural leader. We're planting new seeds, she announced, holding up a small packet of Hope's Harvest peas, a symbol of what we're building together. She organized a neighborhood watch, connecting residents through a simple communication tree, transforming individual anxieties into a collective defense. Mama Rose, tending to a patch of vibrant herbs, watched Lena Mae with a gentle, knowing smile. David always said, "You tend the soil, and the soil tends to you. You're doing good work, child, real good work." The garden, once a fading memory, was now a living, breathing fortress of hope, its roots deepening with every shared effort. Late that night, Aisha's law office glowed with the stark light of determination. Documents were spread across every surface, each a brick in the legal wall they were building. Aisha, fueled by strong coffee and fierce resolve, was on the phone, her voice sharp and authoritative, filing injunctions, organizing pro bono defense for residents who had received aggressive eviction notices. Lena Mae watched, a knot of admiration and unease tightening in her stomach. "This is a full-court press," Aisha finally said, hanging up. "Blackwood's trying to overwhelm us. But David left us more than just local intel." Aisha tapped a section of her whiteboard where a single enigmatic name was circled, K. Davies. Deep cover. He'd been in contact with an investigative journalist, someone with a track record of exposing corporate corruption on a national scale. He called her his insurance policy. Lena Mae's breath hitched. David hadn't just been a gardener. He'd been cultivating a network, a hidden web of allies designed to fight for justice long after he was gone. Hours later, back in his room, Jamal was lost in the glow of his laptop, the SD card still yielding its secrets. Lena Mae, checking in on him, saw his eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and awe. "Mom, you won't believe this." He clicked open a hidden folder, revealing not just documents but complex schematics, blueprints of their neighborhood, overlaid with intricate diagrams of tiny, almost invisible devices. Surveillance equipment, Lena Mae realized, her pulse quickening. And encrypted communication protocols. "Dad, he wasn't just collecting information," Jamal explained, his voice hushed. "He was building a network. Hidden cameras in the park, listening devices near the old abandoned factory, even secure drop points in the garden itself. He was watching them. He built a whole system of observation points." Lena Mae stared at the glowing screen, seeing the neighborhood transformed into a complex web of David's foresight. Her late husband, the quiet gardener, had been a master strategist, building a silent, unseen network to protect them all. Lena Mae's apartment, once a quiet sanctuary, now hummed with the soft glow of multiple laptop screens. It had transformed into a makeshift command center, wires snaking across the coffee table, a large neighborhood map tacked to the wall. Jamal, his brow furrowed in concentration, tapped rapidly at a keyboard, his fingers dancing across the keys with an almost surgical precision. "All right, Mom," he announced, his voice tight with focus. David's eyes and ears are online. Camera 1. Hope blooms. Entrance. Live feed. Camera 2. City Councilman Miller's office building perimeter. Thermals active. Lena Mae leaned over his shoulder, a surge of adrenaline mixing with a profound sense of David's presence. It was as if his meticulous planning, his foresight, was a living force guiding her hand. She pointed to a section of the map. Aisha, can we get a legal read on anyone entering or leaving the Blackwood Group's satellite office on Elm Street? David marked that as a key communication hub. Aisha, perched on the edge of the sofa, already had her tablet open. Absolutely. Any unusual patterns, suspicious vehicles, or repeated contacts with known city officials, it's all potential evidence. This is big, Lena Mae. We're moving from defense to offense. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the secluded park bench where Lena Mae sat, her phone pressed to her ear. She spoke in hushed, urgent tones, her gaze discreetly sweeping the empty playground and winding paths. Mr. Vance? This is Lena Mae Jackson. David gave me your number. A crisp, professional voice on the other end responded. Lena Mae, I've been waiting for your call. David was a good man, and he knew things. The journalist, a veteran known for exposing municipal corruption, confirmed Lena Mae's fears. The Blackwood Group's tendrils reached deep into City Hall. There, Project Nightingale, a thinly veiled scheme to displace the community for immense profit. They're ruthless, Lena Mae, Vance warned, his voice grave. They don't like loose ends, and you've just become one of their biggest. Lena Mae's grip tightened on her phone. The danger was palpable, a chilling echo of David's own warnings. But so was the hope. A powerful ally was now on their side, ready to amplify their truth to the world. The Hope Blooms community garden, still scarred from Blackwood's initial incursions, was the site of a tense community meeting. Evelyn Thorne, sleek and predatory in a tailored suit, stood before the gathered residents, her icy smile a stark contrast to the garden's struggling life. The Blackwood Group understands your attachment to this land, she purred, her voice dripping with false empathy. Which is why we're offering a generous, one-time buyout. A fresh start for all of you. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some faces showing doubt, others a flicker of temptation. Thorne's gaze flickered to Lena Mae, a dismissive sneer. Don't let radical elements convince you to forego this opportunity. Lena Mae stepped forward, calm and resolute, a small, shielded projector held by Jamal casting David's incriminating audio files onto a nearby wall. Ms. Thorne speaks of a fresh start. Lena Mae's voice rang out, clear and firm. But David, my husband, called it strategic revitalization, a plan to push us out, to erase our history. David's recorded voice then echoed through the garden, detailing Blackwood's true intentions, revealing Thorne's manipulation. The community's murmurs turned to an outraged roar. Thorne's icy mask cracked, her eyes blazing with fury as she realized her trap had been sprung. Lena Mae had turned David's foresight into a weapon. Late that night, in the quiet solitude of Jamal's room, a different kind of discovery unfolded. Jamal, still sifting through the layers of David's SD card, found a hidden video file. It was David, looking tired but determined, speaking directly into the camera. Hey, son. If you're watching this, it means you're already doing what I hoped. Keep digging. Your mind, your ingenuity, that's your superpower. Never let anyone tell you it's not enough. Jamal watched, tears welling in his eyes, a profound connection bridging the gap of loss. Lena Mae watched him, a fierce pride blooming in her chest. Inspired, Jamal turned back to his laptop. Mom, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Dad, he designed something else. A countermeasure. It can detect their hidden cameras. A passive frequency scanner, disguised as a common Wi-Fi repeater. They won't even know we're onto them. The schematic glowed on his screen, David's final, brilliant act of protection. The neighborhood transformed into a silent battleground. Under the cover of twilight, Lena Mae, Jamal, and a handful of trusted community members moved through familiar streets, their purpose unseen. Jamal, a handheld device humming in his palm, led the way. Signal strong here, Mom, he whispered, pointing to a lamppost. Blackwood Group surveillance, Lena Mae nodded, her gaze sweeping the area. This was it. The silent war of information. Following David's schematics, Jamal expertly attached a small, innocuous-looking device to the lamppost. Elsewhere, other community members, briefed by Aisha, were doing the same. Moments later, Jamal's device confirmed it. Blackwood's hidden camera, actively broadcasting, was now silently being observed by David's counter-surveillance. Lena Mae felt a quiet satisfaction. For months they had been watched, their lives catalogued. Now, the hunter was becoming the hunted, and the unseen network of eyes and ears was finally on their side. The pre-dawn chill still clung to the air, but a different kind of cold seized Lena Mae's heart as she rounded the corner to the Hope Blooms community garden. The familiar vibrant greens and reds were gone, replaced by a scene of brutal, mechanical devastation. Heavy machinery, parked like hulking metal beasts, had torn through the beds, uprooting years of careful cultivation. Rows of corn, once reaching for the sun, lay snapped and flattened. The proud stalks of con, Defender's Delight, tomatoes, David's legacy, were crushed under massive tire tracks. "No," Mama Rose's voice was a heartbroken whisper beside her, her hands flying to her mouth. Other community members, drawn by the early morning noise, arrived, their cries of despair echoing the devastation. Jamal, his face a mask of fury, already had his phone out, filming the wreckage. Lena Mae felt a quiet, searing rage building inside her. This wasn't just property damage, it was an assault on their very spirit, a brutal declaration of war. Back in Lena Mae's apartment, now a makeshift command center, the air crackled with a frantic, desperate energy. Surveillance footage of the garden's destruction played on loop across Jamal's laptop screens. Hulking bulldozers, Blackwood's hired muscle overseeing the demolition with callous indifference. "They weren't subtle," Jamal muttered, his fingers flying across the keyboard, enhancing frames, identifying faces. Aisha, her usual composed demeanor replaced by tight-lipped worry, paced the small living room. "This is a direct intimidation tactic, Lena Mae, and it means they know we're on to them. The legal process is designed to be slow, to wear people down. We don't have that luxury anymore." Lena Mae watched the digital footage, her mind racing. Aisha was right. The law was a shield, but Blackwood had just shown they were willing to tear down everything behind it. A desperate need for a faster, more direct solution gnawed at her, a primal urge to protect what little they had left. The fight was no longer just about justice. It was about survival. Remembering David's meticulous nature, his penchant for hidden compartments and contingency plans, Lena Mae moved to his old desk. Her fingers traced the worn wood, a silent prayer to the man who had always been 10 steps ahead. Behind a false back panel, barely perceptible, her hand closed around something solid. She pulled it out. A sleek, black tablet. Its screen glowed with a single, ominous label. Final Protocol. Wes. Her heart hammered against her ribs. David's last secret. She thumbed the screen, and complex schematics exploded into view, a localized electromagnetic pulse device. David had designed it for extreme contingencies, an EMP, a weapon capable of disabling all electronics in a targeted area. The implications crashed over her. It was dangerous, powerful, and utterly beyond anything she had ever imagined. This was David's nuclear option, a tool of such magnitude that it could level the playing field, or perhaps destroy everything they were fighting for. A grave responsibility settled upon her, the weight of a powerful, dangerous weapon in her trembling hands. Later that night, the Final Protocol tablet lay open on Lena Mae's kitchen table, its glowing schematics casting an eerie light on their faces. Lena Mae explained the EMP device, her voice tight with the weight of its destructive potential. It could disable their communications, their vehicles, even their surveillance gear, level the playing field completely. Aisha, her brow furrowed with concern, leaned back. "Ethically, legally, Lena Mae, this is a minefield. It's an act of war, not a legal maneuver. We could face charges ourselves, even if it's justified." Jamal, however, was more pragmatic. If David designed it, it's probably got safeguards. And if it stops Blackwood from destroying everything else, isn't it worth the risk? Lena Mae looked from her son's logical analysis to Aisha's moral objections. Her husband had left her away to fight, but it demanded a choice that would define who she was: a teacher, a mother, or something else entirely. The internal struggle was agonizing. Under the cloak of pre-dawn darkness, near the desecrated garden, Lena Mae held the EMP device. Her decision was made. Not to harm, not to destroy, but to expose. "We're going to use it," she stated, her voice resolute. "But not as a weapon of destruction. This is about disabling their ability to lie, to manipulate, to hide their crimes." Her plan was precise. A critical public event, a press conference Blackwood was hosting, would be their target. We hit their communications, their cameras, their tech, right as they're trying to spin their narrative. We create a vacuum, then we fill it with the truth. Aisha let out a slow breath, her face etched with reluctance but a flicker of admiration in her eyes. "It's highly risky, Lena Mae, but I trust your judgment." Jamal, already setting up portable monitors and securing their comms, nodded. "Daddy built this for a reason, Mom. We're ready." Lena Mae looked at the device, then at her son, and finally at Aisha. The ultimate gamble was set in motion. The bulldozed expanse where the Hope Blooms community garden once thrived now hosted a stage of polished chrome and a towering banner. "Project Nightingale, Rebirth of Our Community." Victor Blackwood, a man whose smile oozed condescension, stood at the podium, basking in the cameras, flashes, and the polite applause of city officials and invited media. Lena Mae watched from the back of the small crowd. Jamal, a silent, focused presence beside her, his hand discreetly gripping a small, innocuous device. Aisha, her eyes scanning the security detail, gave Lena Mae a barely perceptible nod. The air thrummed with Blackwood's self-congratulatory rhetoric, a triumphant symphony for the man who believed he'd already won. But Lena Mae felt a different rhythm, the steady beat of her own heart, thrumming with a quiet, fierce resolve. The moment of truth was here. "And with Project Nightingale, we usher in a new era of prosperity for this neighborhood." Victor Blackwood boomed, his voice amplified across the desolate construction site. Lena Mae's eyes met Jamal's. He gave a quick, almost imperceptible nod. Her finger, steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins, pressed the activation button on the small, hidden EMP device. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Blackwood's microphone screeched into silence, cutting off his pompous words mid-sentence. Camera lights flickered, then died. Media crews cursed, fumbling with dead equipment. The giant screen displaying glossy architectural renderings turned to a blank, dark mirror. A collective gasp rippled through the bewildered crowd. Blackwood stood frozen, his face a mask of shocked confusion. Evelyn Thorne beside him, her icy composure finally cracking into a bewildered frown. Lena Mae felt a surge of triumph. David's silent weapon had struck true. The sudden silence was deafening, broken only by the murmurs of the confused crowd. Lena Mae seized the vacuum. Stepping forward, she raised the shielded, battery-powered loudspeaker Jamal had prepared. Her voice, clear and resonant, cut through the lingering confusion. "Victor Blackwood stands before you, celebrating a victory built on lies and stolen dreams." Her words echoed, carrying David's truth into the stunned silence. She pressed a button on the speaker, and David's strained voice filled the air. Asterisk, "They want to gentrify our homes. Eminent domain, problematic residents." Incriminating audio files, whispers of bribes, and veiled threats played out for all to hear. The hidden journalist, his shielded camera whirring, captured every moment. Outrage erupted from the community members. Blackwood's face contorted in fury. Thorne's denial sputtered, but David's voice, a ghost from the grave, had spoken. Siren wails cut through the uproar. Police cruisers and unmarked federal vehicles streamed onto the site. Evelyn Thorne, her eyes narrowed to slits of pure desperation, lunged. "Give me that," she hissed, her hand snatching at the loudspeaker, but Lena Mae, anticipating the move, sidestepped with practiced grace. Aisha Khan, moving with surprising speed, intercepted Thorne, blocking her path. "This evidence is secured, Miss Thorne," Aisha declared. Two uniformed officers immediately moved in, apprehending a struggling Thorne, then turning to a pale and sputtering Victor Blackwood. He was quickly cuffed, his protests dying in his throat as the reality of his downfall sank in. The crowd roared, a wave of relief and vindication washing over the community. Victor Blackwood and Evelyn Thorne, their faces tight with fury and humiliation, were led away in handcuffs. Their once arrogant posture now slumped, defeated. The crowd surged forward, erupting in a deafening wave of cheers and applause. Community members surrounded Lena Mae, their faces beaming with gratitude, some reaching out to touch her, others embracing her tightly. Hands lifted her, then Jamal, into the air, a spontaneous celebration of heroes. Mama Rose, tears streaming down her face, clapped her hands with unbridled joy. The journalist, his face alight with the thrill of a breaking story, captured every triumphant moment. Confetti, suddenly appearing from somewhere in the jubilant crowd, rained down on them. The battle was won, but Lena Mae knew the real work, the rebuilding, was just beginning. Weeks later, the bustling courthouse buzzed with a different kind of energy. Lena Mae sat beside Aisha and Jamal, a quiet strength radiating from her as Victor Blackwood and Evelyn Thorne, stripped of their power and prestige, stood before the federal judge. David's meticulously gathered evidence, coupled with Aisha's relentless legal prowess, had proven undeniable. The judge's pronouncements were swift, firm, and devastating. Blackwood, his face a mask of fury and disbelief, attempted a final, desperate appeal, but his words fell flat, hollow. Thorne, ever the strategist, remained stony-faced, her eyes devoid of emotion as the sentences were delivered. Significant prison time, their corporate empire crumbling to dust. Lena Mae felt a deep, quiet sense of vindication. Justice, intellectual and hard-won, had finally been served. Months later, the Hope Blooms community garden was a riot of color and life, more vibrant than ever. Where bulldozers had once wreaked havoc, a new pavilion stood, and expanded beds overflowed with produce tended by a joyous community. City support, galvanized by the scandal and Lena Mae's unwavering advocacy, had flowed in, helping to rebuild what was nearly lost. Lena Mae knelt with Mama Rose, their hands calloused from the rich soil. Together they planted the first, Defender's Delight, tomato seeds in the newly tilled earth. "David would be so proud, child," Mama Rose murmured, her eyes twinkling. "His hope bloomed, and you made sure it took root." Lena Mae smiled, a genuine, heartfelt warmth spreading through her chest. The laughter of children playing nearby was the sweetest music. In a modest, newly established community office, filled with the scent of fresh paint and possibility, Lena Mae, Aisha, and Jamal officially launched the David Jackson Community Defense Fund. Seized Blackwood Group assets, a poetic twist of fate, now funded their mission. Lena Mae stood, her voice clear and strong, as she articulated their purpose: to provide legal aid, technological resources, and strategic guidance to other communities facing similar corporate land grabs. "This isn't just about our neighborhood," she stated. "It's about empowering every community to protect what's theirs." Aisha, sorting through legal documents, offered a proud smile. Jamal, already at a sleek new workstation, began setting up the fund's interactive website, extending David's digital legacy to a wider world. Back in her classroom, now adorned with vibrant posters depicting the Hope Blooms garden and community protests, Lena Mae taught a lesson on civic engagement. But this wasn't from a textbook. She used their recent victory as a living case study, detailing the Blackwood Group's deception and the power of collective action. Her students, usually prone to teenage distraction, were captivated, their eyes wide with understanding. "You see," Lena Mae explained, a gentle but firm tone in her voice, "intellect and unity are our most powerful weapons. Every single one of you has the power to make a difference." A young girl raised her hand. "Ms. Jackson, are you a real-life superhero?" Lena Mae chuckled. "I'm just a teacher who believed in her community." Late that night, a quiet reflection settled over Lena Mae's apartment. She and Jamal sat side by side, the laptop glowing softly. They had reviewed the micro SD card countless times, but tonight, Jamal discovered one last hidden file: a video message. David's face appeared on the screen, his smile warm, his eyes full of love. "My dearest Lena Mae," his voice, a bittersweet echo from the past, filled the room. "If you're seeing this, it means you found my little secret, and you fought. I always knew you had this strength in you, this fire. Protect our son, protect our home, and never stop cultivating hope. You're stronger than you know, my love. And Jamal. David turned to face his son. Keep building. Keep questioning. Together, you two are unstoppable. Lena Mae felt tears stream down her face, but these were tears of peace. She squeezed Jamal's hand, a shared vow passing between them. David's journey had concluded, but his legacy, now theirs, had just begun. A year later, Lena Mae Jackson stood on a brightly lit stage, the hum of a national conference for community organizers filling the vast hall. Her voice, once soft with grief, now resonated with a confident authority that commanded attention. Aisha Khan, beaming with pride, watched from the front row, occasionally exchanging nods with Jamal, who manned a tech booth at the back, his screen displaying the sleek interface of the David Jackson Community Defense Fund. They tried to bury our hope, Lena Mae declared, her gaze sweeping across the diverse audience. But my husband, David, left us seeds, seeds of defiance, seeds of community, and the courage to grow them into something they could never bulldoze. She spoke of their victory against the Blackwood Group, her narrative a powerful testament to grassroots resistance. Jamal then took the stage, his presentation on the fund's tech tools, David's original systems, expanded and refined, drawing gasps of admiration. Lena Mae's story, once a local battle, had become a beacon, inspiring a new movement for change across the country. Back home, in the Hope Blooms Community Garden, Lena Mae shared a quiet afternoon with Mama Rose. The garden, now a verdant sanctuary, buzzed with the laughter of children playing amidst rows of vibrant produce. "You bloomed, child," Mama Rose said, her voice soft as a summer breeze, as she carefully pruned a Defender's Delight tomato vine. "David, he didn't just leave you seeds, he left you the courage to grow them in the hardest soil." Lena Mae smiled, a deep, contented warmth spreading through her. "He knew, Mama Rose. He always knew what we were capable of, even when we didn't." The elder woman nodded, her eyes twinkling. "That's a good man's legacy, Lena Mae. To see the strength in you before you saw it yourself." In the tranquility of the thriving garden, Lena Mae felt David's presence, not as a ghost of grief, but as a living, enduring wisdom that continued to guide her path. Jamal's room, once a typical teenager's messy space, had transformed into a sophisticated home office, multiple monitors glowing with complex code. He, now a confident young adult, worked on new software for the Defense Fund, expanding David's original systems into a robust platform for community empowerment. "This new module," he explained to Lena Mae, gesturing at a blueprint of a new, larger community project. "It integrates local zoning laws with historical property data. It'll flag potential land grabs before they even start." Lena Mae watched him, a swell of pride in her chest. David's ingenuity, his foresight, lived on through their son. "Your father would be so proud, Jamal," she whispered. Jamal met her gaze, a familiar determination in his eyes. "We're just getting started, Mom. This isn't just Dad's legacy anymore, it's ours." The torch had been passed, and a new generation was ready to carry it forward, fighting for a brighter future. Lena Mae, now a full-time advocate, visited her old high school classroom, which had been repurposed into a bustling community resource center. The scent of old books mingled with fresh coffee, a familiar comfort. She watched a young, earnest community leader, barely out of college, passionately outlining a new initiative to a small group. This leader reminded Lena Mae so much of herself, years ago, full of fire, but perhaps still searching for her anchor. Lena Mae approached the young woman's desk, discreetly leaving a new, carefully prepared seed packet of Hope's Harvest sunflowers. Tucked inside, unseen, was a micro SD card, a digital whisper of possibility. Beside it, a simple handwritten note. "This is the beginning, not the end. Trust yourself. You're stronger than you know." Lena Mae offered a gentle, knowing smile as she slipped away, the cycle of justice and hope continuing. From a panoramic vantage point, the city stretched out, vibrant and alive. Below, nestled amidst the urban sprawl, the Hope Blooms Community Garden burst with life, a testament to resilience, its Defender's Delight tomatoes ripening under the sun, Sometimes, Lena Mae's voiceover began, soft yet resonant, the smallest acts of love and defiance can change the world. A single seed, a hidden message, a mother's refusal to back down. She looked at the thriving garden, then out at the sprawling city. Everyone possesses the power to cultivate extraordinary change, to stand up for what's right, to protect what they love, to turn grief into purpose. She paused, the sound of children's laughter drifting up from the garden. What seeds of change will you plant? What legacy will you cultivate? The city hummed with endless possibilities, a future shaped by the courage of ordinary people who dared to bloom against all odds.